Hello, hello, and good morning, folks. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're doing well. Hope your day's starting off right. Let's get a big old sip of coffee, kick this off right. You might have noticed, got the special tankard out today. We're going to have some fun with it. All right, so if you've been here before, you know the format. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to get a list from y'all of your favorite books, and then I'm going to pull them up. Let's see, right over here, and we're going to read those opening lines, and we're going to talk about them. Why are they good? What's the author trying to do? Anything I notice? Just fun stuff like that. Sung Moon, welcome in. Good to see you. Maddie, what's up, my guy? How y'all doing today? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're doing good. Y'all, it's gonna be a good stream today. I'm ready to go. I busted out the special tankard today, so we're drinking coffee out of our Green Dragon Inn tankard. It only weighs about 2 pounds, unfilled. Good afternoon, FM, you say? Where in the world are you, my friend, that it is afternoon? Somewhere in Europe, I presume? Either way, folks, if you have a book that you want me to read the opening lines of on stream, please drop it in chat, and we're going to pull it up, and we're going to have some fun with it. I'm going to go through it, talk about what the author's doing in the opening lines from my perspective as an author, which, if you don't know, y'all, I am author Alex Knight. I've been writing full-time since 2018, making books like these. And I don't know, I guess those are my credentials for analyzing the opening lines of other books. FM, you live near Hadrian's Wall in the UK. Rock on. Beautiful country up there. I've only been a couple times, but it's very nice. I think it'd be really, really wild to live near something that old. As an American in a relatively young country. Other name wasn't available. I have not done His Majesty's Dragon, so let's put that on the list. Thank you very much for recommending it. It's a cool title. Other name, it is, you said Happy Friday, my man. I wish it was Friday, but we're only halfway there. It is Happy Wednesday. Rafi, good to see you, my guy. How you doing? Welcome in, buddy. How was last night? Oh, it's your Friday, other name. Okay. You got that weekend coming up. Enjoy that, time traveler. Sung Moon, you want to suggest Cruel Prince? Sure, who's that by? FM, you want Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Rock on, thank you very much. A much needed long weekend for you, other name. Rock on, my guy. Let's do it. That's what I want to hear. Not the much needed part, but the part where you're getting a long weekend. Naomi Novik for His Majesty's Dragon. I've heard that name around. I don't think I've ever read anything. By Holly Black for Cruel Prince. Thank you, Sung Moon. Alright, and Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Rock on. Okay, so y'all, let's just dive right into it, huh? We got our first book of the day. Right here. Here's our cover. Oh, it's not centered. One moment. There we go. Boom. His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. Very cool art on the front. Kind of like hand-drawn. Rafi, you want Hurricane Punch by Tim Dorsey? You got it, baby. On the list. And Jack Ann, you want Rain and Ruin by J.D. Evans. Symmetric Books, you said, do you need a PC or a laptop for Incarnate? Probably. I think it might work on mobile. I'm not sure it would be a nice user experience. I've never tried, but I could totally see it working on mobile. It's just, you'd have some things to work around, I think. A couple challenges. Ooh, I like that suggestion. Slaughterhouse 5. Been a hot minute since we've delved into something like that. All right. Slaughterhouse-5. Rock on. You got it, Vision. All right, let's do our first one here. Thank you for the suggestions, everybody. We got a good little list going. Like I said, I've never read anything by Naomi Novik. Now, that's a name that I've heard around a whole lot. So let's read something by her. I love on the cover here. Let me get it out from behind my head. There's like a dragon, right, in the air. It looks like it's kind of hand-drawn style. It's very cool. But beneath it, there's a ship down here under sail. And that's giving me like Age of Piracy vibes almost, but with dragons. I don't know if that's where it's going, but I'm here for it. So let's find out. The opening line makes me think that I'm correct. So let's do it, y'all. Chapter 1 of His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. The deck of the French ship was slippery with blood, heaving in the choppy sea. A stroke might as easily bring down the man making it as the intended target. Lawrence did not have time in the heat of the battle to be surprised at the degree of resistance, but even through the numbing haze of battle fever and the confusion of swords and pistol smoke, he marked the extreme look of anguish on the French captain's face as the man shouted encouragement to his men. It was still there shortly thereafter when they met on the deck, and the man surrendered his sword, very reluctantly. At the last moment, his half hand closed about the blade, as if he meant to draw it back. Lawrence looked up to make certain the colors had been struck, then accepted the sword with a mute bow. He did not speak French himself, and a more formal exchange would have to wait for the presence of his third lieutenant, that young man being presently engaged below decks in securing the French guns. Sorry about the choppiness, y'all. First book of the day, we're kind of getting into the flow of the prose. It's also kind of small font. All right, but let's do those opening lines again. A little less choppy this time. The deck of the French ship was slippery with blood, heaving in the choppy sea. A stroke might as easily bring down the man making it as the intended target. Lawrence did not have time in the heat of battle to be surprised at the degree of resistance, but even through the numbing haze of battle fever and the confusion of swords and pistol smoke, he marked the extreme look of anguish on the French captain's face as the man shouted encouragement to his men. Okay, cool. Much better that time around. Interesting opening. We're going for an action opening, which is fun. Kind of setting us right into the middle of a battle. I guess my prediction about it feels like an Age of Piracy type vibe, but dragons. I'm leaning away so you can see the ship on the cover right there. That prediction seems pretty accurate. Action openings are never a bad thing. They might not necessarily... The way they function is they need to hook you with the action, right? So this is looking to hook you with just the chaos of what's going on. One of the lines that really stood out to me in that was the numbing haze of battle fever and the confusion of swords and pistol smoke. I think that's a pretty sick description. I'm here for it. It's kind of sending me back to the classic movies of the 90s and early 2000s of Master and Commander and whatnot. That was kind of in for a while. Cool Imp on YT, you described this book as Napoleonic War Dragon Riders. That sounds awesome to me. Rock on. Okay, so we didn't get too much beyond the action hook with these opening lines, but presence of setting is intriguing me. So I would definitely read on just because it sounds cool to me. And sometimes it's all you need for a book is just an interesting setting, an interesting world to drop the readers into. Obviously, it's nice when your prose is really hooky and gets the reader's attention right away. But sometimes your cover can do that. Sometimes your setting can do that. So hey, we take those wins where we can get them, right? I'm glad y'all have liked this book. A lot of readers seem to have read this, so rock on. I'm going to have to keep aware of it as a future read once my to-be-read pile gets knocked down a little bit. But thank you, everybody. That's giving me info about it in chat. I appreciate you. Cool Imp, who is that by? But I will add it to the list, my friend. Also, I saw The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. That's a good book there. Haven't read that one in a few years. but it remains on my shelf. It's one of the few textbooks that I kept from school. It's not really a textbook, but it was required reading, I should say. All right, so let me catch up on chat and get going on to the next one. Graceful Chaos, you said, random drop in who's never seen you before, but I can say in my opinion this is a great series. A lot of people seem to like it, so clearly starting on a strong book here. Peter Jackson has the movie rights to this book series, says other name wasn't available. Interesting. That could be pretty cool. It's already very visual. I mean, the opening is an action hook with a lot of visual elements, right? FM, you said the choppiness is making me feel reassured. My mind is the same as a writer. Different ways to tell stories, you know? Victoria, congrats on the 10-year anniversary of your book. That's pretty sick. 10 years. Very nice. Thank you. So a suggestion from YT, the website whose name I can't say. Cool Imp over there says Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman, I think it is. Let's go. Jack Ann, you had a suggestion as well. You said you want to switch it. Okay, Jack Ann, what was your first one? And I'll swap it out. But you want to switch your suggestion to Depths of Vanolf. Not heard of this either. By Brady Hunsaker. Symmetric, how hard is it to get used to Incarnate? Not at all. It's super easy in my opinion. Very approachable. Hey, Jimbo Slice. You said Nightmare Arcanist by Shammy Stovall. I know Shammy. Good person. Her and her husband are good people. All right. So that's the first one. Let's. Your original suggestion was Rain and Ruin. Okay, so we'll swap that out for your new suggestion. All right, y'all. Let's get a little crazy with it. For the next one. Macabrew, were you here last Wednesday and recommended On a Pale Horse by Piers Anthony? Or did we do it last stream? That name's familiar to me. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, I think that we did this on the last stream. Let me read the sample, or look at the sample for a second. Yeah, I think we did it last stream, right? This isn't familiar to me though. Okay. Well, hey, we'll put it on the list. We'll put it on the list. Thank you for recommending it. It is on there. I feel like it might have got it suggested last stream, and we didn't get to it in time. So we'll do it today. But next up, y'all, I'm really excited by this one. Got a recommendation for Slaughterhouse 5. That's a fun one. And by fun, we're speaking in relative terms here. That was the wrong click. There we go. Kurt Vonnegut. Always an interesting read when it's a Kurt Vonnegut book. Beans, you love this book? I remember it being weird but good, and it grew on me after I finished it, which was an interesting experience. Vonnegut's such a strange writer. I appreciate that though. There's room in the world for that. All right, here we go. Chapter 1 of Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut, a consummate classic. All this happened, more or less. The war parts, anyway, are pretty much true. One guy I knew really was shot in Dresden for taking a teapot that wasn't his. Another guy I knew really did threaten to have his personal enemies killed by hired gunmen after the war. And so on. I've changed all the names. I really did go back to Dresden with Guggenheim money, God love it, in 1967. It looked a lot like Dayton, Ohio, more open spaces than Dayton has. There must be tons of human bone meal in the ground. Oh, what a description. I went back there with an old war buddy, Bernard V. O'Hare, and we made friends with a cab driver who took us to the slaughterhouse where we had been locked up at night as prisoners of war. His name was Gerard Mueller. He told us that he was a prisoner of the Americans for a while. We asked him how it was to live under communism, and he said that it was terrible at first because everybody had to work so hard and because there wasn't much shelter or food or clothing. But things were much better now. He had a pleasant little apartment, and his daughter was getting an excellent education. His mother was incinerated in the Dresden firestorm. So it goes. Oof, goodness. Redneck, I love the "so it goes" comment. That's very funny. So let's talk about what's going on, because there's a lot happening in this opening, y'all. Raffi, you're never reading this book? Why? It is an interesting one, I'll give it that. There's a lot happening in this opening, so let's talk about it real quick. Vonnegut speaks to his reader a lot, especially in this opening, and immediately establishes that, like, unreliable, kind of reliable narrator back and forth. It really makes you think. Instead of just dragging you right in with like a big narrative hook or an action sequence, he's going for like a conversational tone, which is always something I appreciate, because, you know, y'all hear me say all the time that voice is your most important asset as an author. The way you see things, the way you describe them, is what makes your storytelling unique. In a hook like this, is absolutely just a 100% voice, build for the opening of a book. It just hooks you right off the bat with, all this happened, more or less. That immediate contradiction just kind of sets off a little bit of dissonance in your head. And then it just shocks you with random details you don't expect. Like, it talks about, like, oh, well, Dresden was rebuilt. It looks just like Dayton, Ohio. Must be a lot of human bone meal in the ground. That detail just... One, it's horrible. I hate it. But two, it's very good, and I feel like that's pretty characteristic of Vonnegut. It's very much like he's like lulling you into a conversation, and just like bam, just like a slap up the side of the face once in a while with one of these horrible lines, like, there must be a lot of human bone meal in the ground, or it was hard to live under communism, but it was better now. His daughter was getting an excellent education. His mother was incinerated in the Dresden firestorm. So it goes. Right? He just kind of comes out of nowhere with those. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's objectively, by my ranking system, a very good way to open a book. So yeah, Slaughterhouse 5. It's a weird one. It's a good one. I'm glad to have done it. Let me update the list here, and I think I saw in chat some more recommendations coming in, so we're getting some more on the list. Let's take a look. Raffi, you said it's a Melissa-type book for you. That's how you know it ain't for you. It's intentionally uncomfortable, says Beans. Yeah, very true, Beans. I like that. I feel like you could have... You just summarized my entire 2-minute spiel about the opening in 2 words. Intentionally uncomfortable. It's very good. 4-6, what's up, my guy? Oh, 4-6, did you miss it? We did Snow Globe right at the end last week. I hope you didn't miss it. That'd be a shame. By So Young Park. That was a fun one. I really liked the opening. Oh, 4-6, I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, go to the last stream, which, by the way, y'all, if you don't know, my streams are all recorded as I film them. And they are on YT at author Alex Knight is my profile there. And 4-6, if you go to the last Wednesday stream and just go to like the last 10 minutes, it's right there at the end. It was really good. Thank you for recommending it. It's actually legitimately on my to be read list after that. And I think, let me see, on the where we keep a record of all the books we do here, I'm pretty sure I might have bolded it. Yes, I did. I bolded it as a book that really stood out. So thank you for recommending it, man. Green Hoodie, you said he thought I got jump scared by Sea Nanners. Man, Sea Nanners. I haven't heard that name in a while. They still making videos, content? I haven't. If they are, I haven't watched it in a long time. Oh, thank you, Raffi. I appreciate that. So the Red app is what I should say for the video website that I'm not allowed to mention by name or else my stream gets suppressed. That one, the video website, the Red app. Tara, you want to add to the list Dementia by Tara Hansen. All right, on the list. Um, Lore, you said, what do you use to write books? I've always been questioning this. I just use Google Docs personally. It's really whatever program works best for you. There's a lot of good ones out there. Ricky Dicky Doodah Grimes. There's a fun name. What are my thoughts on Lord of the Rings? I love Lord of the Rings. I'm rereading Fellowship right now, and it is a very different but a very beautiful book. It might become my favorite book of all time. It's very different. It's very ambling. It takes its time, but I think if you move at the pace of the story, it's a beautiful ride. All right, that's 2 books down, so let's keep it going, folks. Let's do Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I think that was like the 3rd book that was suggested today, so we'll get to it nice and early. The Cruel we've done The Cruel Prince, actually, now that I see the cover. But it's been more than a stream since we've done it, so it is eligible to be done again. I think I remember liking this opening. It's heavy on character voice, if I recall. Yeah, I definitely remember the map. Oh, no. This isn't the one I was thinking of. We have done this, but this isn't the one I was thinking of. Either way, Cruel Prince, the cover image is really small for some reason, so I'll put it up here. There we go. It's really cool art. I'm a fan. Lush, dangerous, a dark jewel of a book. That's a nice quote. Goldwing, you want to add to the list The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. You got it on the list. All right, but first, let's do Cruel Prince. Chapter 1. Prologue. On a drowsy Sunday afternoon, a man in a long dark coat hesitated in front of a house on a tree-lined street. He hadn't parked a car, nor had he come by taxi. No neighbor had seen him strolling along the sidewalk. He simply appeared, as if stepping between one shadow and the next. The man walked to the door and lifted his fist to knock. Inside the house, Jude sat on the living room rug and ate fish sticks, soggy from the microwave and dragged through a sludge of ketchup. Ugh, a sludge of ketchup. How are you going to make ketchup sound gross, but achieved? Her twin sister, Taryn, napped on the couch, curled around a blanket, thumb in her fruit punch-stained mouth. And on the other end of the sofa, their older sister, Vivienne, stared at the television screen, her eerie, split-pupiled gaze fixed on the cartoon mouse as it ran from the cartoon cat. She laughed when it seemed as if the mouse was about to get eaten. Vivi was different from other big sisters, but since 7-year-old Jude and Taryn were identical, with the same shaggy brown hair and heart-shaped faces, they were different too. Vivi's eyes and the lightly furred point of her ears were, to Jude, not so much more strange than being the mirror version of another person. And if sometimes she noticed the way the neighbor kids avoided Vivi, or the way their parents talked about her in low, worried voices, Jude didn't think it was anything important. Grown-ups were always worried, always whispering. Okay. Interesting opening. I'm going to try to not repeat my thoughts from the last time we did it. Try to take it from a slightly new angle. But this is an interesting one. There's kind of 2 things going on here, right? So initially we have like the whole image of the man outside on the sidewalk who just kind of appeared there. I really love the description of no neighbor had seen him strolling along the sidewalk. He simply appeared as if stepping between one shadow and the next. It's a good visual. I quite like that. And then they're building up tension by saying the man walked to the door and lifted his fist to knock. And then it's like it almost like freeze frames him in your mind as you jump to inside the house and get introduced to, I'm assuming, the main characters. But because it introduced that man outside who's just standing there with his fist ready to knock on the door, it feels to me, at least when I read this, I'm thinking about the main characters inside the house, but there's just like this little like reminder, like a post-it note stuck on the back of my mind, remembering that dude's about to knock. It's almost like raising a boot and you're waiting for it to come back down, waiting for the other shoe to fall. So that almost creates a little bit of a hook in a different way. It's like a hook based on expectation. I think is very interesting. And then the description of Vivienne is very interesting. She sounds, I don't want to say not human. I don't know, but certainly different, as the text said. So there's almost two hooks I would go with here. There's the main characters, the description of Vivian, and there's the man getting ready to knock at the door. Maybe we'll throw a third hook in for just kind of the weird way that he appears there. Kind of hints at magic, something different. I agree, Jack Ann. You said without that man knocking, it wouldn't be as effective of an opening. 100%. You almost need that man out there ready to knock on the door. That expectation, you need that to be there. And you put it on pause as it introduces a little less hooky of an intro by talking about the main characters. But because that man's out there ready to knock, you're like, you know something's coming, right? And my thoughts are developing as I talk about it. It's almost like a hook typically would encourage the reader to ask a question in their mind, so they want to continue reading to get an answer to that question. This, by having that guy ready to knock on the door, he's just like standing out there, it almost asks you to wait a moment until he knocks to see what's coming next. It's a different way to do a hook. I'm intrigued by it. I like it. So thank you for suggesting The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. There we go. There's my thoughts on it. Your shoes are too big. I don't think the opening lines of A People's History of the United States are going to be particularly interesting, though I do remember enjoying that book as a kid. High school. That's the Stern book, right? Or Zinn, I meant to say, Howard Zinn. Yeah. I read this book front to back in school. Not by choice. Kendra, you want Children of Blood and Bone? The list is pretty long today, but give me the author's name, and I'll put it on there, and we'll see if we can get to it today. Jake Hartman over on the Red app. Hello, my friend. Welcome in. Good to see you. You said Paladin's Grace by Kingfisher, huh? T. Kingfisher. That's a name that's been around. Kendra, you think it's Tommy and... Okay, I know the book. I remember when it came out. I remember the cover art. We'll pull it up there. All right, rock on. Let's do... Y'all, I really wanna jump to this one, so I'm jumping ahead a minute, but I really want to do The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. That's not a recommendation that I've gotten on stream before, but it is, as I said, one of my books that I kept from required reading in school. This book certainly made me think back in the day. I don't remember what the opening is, though. It's been a long time. All right, so let's grab this cover right here. Not the cover that I have, but a nice, interesting one. I think I like mine better, but this is cool too. The blue is a new introduction. Mine's like orange and white, which, you know, once you see it for many years like that, you kind of start to think of that as the cover of the book. But like, of course, they've sent out new versions since then. All right, well, let's get into it. I had another thought, but I lost it. Oh, I was gonna say thank you for the follows, y'all. My follow sound has just like stopped working when a new follower follows the stream. I still see the number ticking up, so thank you very much, y'all. But the sound just like doesn't happen anymore. It's not something I turned off. Just doesn't do it. So I'm still seeing it, but sorry that I don't have the little reminder anymore. I briefly looked at the settings, but couldn't find a way to like turn it back on. If anybody knows, let me know. Raffi, this one is, it's not the happiest book, but I think it's a meaningful book. It's very subtle and quiet, but good. Alright, Chapter 1 of The Things They Carried. First Lieutenant Jimmy Cross carried letters from a girl named Martha, a junior at Mount Sebastian College in New Jersey. They were not love letters, but Lieutenant Cross was hoping, so he kept them folded in plastic at the bottom of his rucksack. In the late afternoon, after a day's march, he would dig his foxhole, wash his hands under a canteen, unwrap the letters, hold them with the tips of his fingers, and spend the last hour of light pretending. He would imagine romantic camping trips into the White Mountains in New Hampshire. He would sometimes taste the envelope flaps, knowing her tongue had been there. More than anything, he wanted Martha to love him as he loved her. But the letters were mostly chatty, elusive on the matter of love. She was a virgin, he was almost sure. She was an English major at Mount Sebastian, and she wrote beautifully about her professors and roommates in term exams, about her respect for Chaucer and her great affection for Virginia Woolf. She often quoted lines of poetry. She never mentioned the war, except to say, "Jimmy, take care of yourself." The letters weighed 4 ounces. They were signed, "Love, Martha," but Lieutenant Cross understood that love was only a way of signing and did not mean what he sometimes pretended it meant. At dusk, he would carefully return the letters to his rucksack. Slowly, a bit distracted, he would get up and move among his men, checking the perimeter. Then at full dark he would return to his hole and watch the night and wonder about Martha. I feel like I want to do a little bit more because the next passage is meaningful for the book. The things they carried were largely determined by necessity. Among the necessities, or near necessities, were P38 can openers, pocket knives, heat tabs, wristwatches, dog tags, mosquito repellent, chewing gum, candy, cigarettes, salt tablets, packets of Kool-Aid, lighters, matches, sewing kits, military payment certificates, sea rations, and 2 or 3 canteens of water. Together, these items weighed between 12 and 18 pounds, depending on a man's habits or rate of metabolism. Henry Dobbins, who was a big man, carried extra rations. He was especially fond of canned peaches and heavy syrup over pound cake. Dave Jensen, who practiced field hygiene, carried a toothbrush, dental floss, and several hotel-sized bars of soap he'd stolen on R&R in Sydney, Australia. On it goes. I guess it takes a minute to get there. Where it's going with that, it's a nice analogy about the things that they carried with them. It's about the Vietnam War. Compared with the things they carried inside of them, the emotions, the trauma, the lessons learned for ill or for good over there. It's a very beautiful book, but I think it perhaps doesn't get there in the opening lines. But it does do something interesting in the opening, so let's talk about that. It's primarily trying to humanize one of our characters here, and contrast where he is in the present with life back home, which is a running theme throughout this book. I don't think it's particularly the most immediate grab-you opening. In fact, I almost wonder if... I'd have to double-check my version. I feel like it might have had a different opening. I seem to recall that. It's been many years, though, and I have been known to be wrong at times. But it just draws a simple, quiet moment there in the beginning, I think, which contrasts with what we know is coming in the rest of the book, being a book about stories from Vietnam. It's a very different book. It's very poignant, very quiet, very slow, very thoughtful, and the more you think about it, the more rewarding it is, I suppose. So thank you for recommending it, and tempted for a reread now. Beans, I think that was a 2-part comment. I missed the first part. Maybe not. Jedi Spartan, you love the opening of Blood Rights by Jim Butcher. We have done that on stream before. It's a very fun one. Oh, Beans, you're talking about the Ted Lavender character. Yeah. Ugh. I particularly remember the story with the guy driving around the lake on 4th of July, and he sees like everybody at the barbecues and their picnics and like having fun, and he's just stuck in his head back in Vietnam, and he's just driving around the lake, can't participate in society anymore. It's very poignant. It was one of the first times I understood saying a thing without saying it in writing. I don't think I realized at the time how important that was. T, you want to add The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. The list is getting pretty long now, so I don't know if we'll get to it today. So I will do my best, but my standing policy is if I don't get to it on stream, come back next Wednesday, recommend it again, and tell me that you recommended it last stream, and it will go right to the top of the list. It'll get priority. Violet, you said The Things They Carried was one of the most intense books you read in high school. Yeah, I believe that. All right, next book. Let's get we've had some heavy ones, so let's grab Hurricane Punch by Tim Dorsey. I believe it was Raffi or Slindy that recommended this one. So thank you for that. And I have a feeling I know what this one's going to be. I think I'm actually aware of this book. I certainly haven't read it, but the title stands out to me. I feel like I've interacted with it somehow. All right, so Hurricane Punch. Let's get the cover up. Interesting. The cover image is just a picture of the book. Hey, it works, right? Dorsey is a comedy, right? I'm pretty sure. Huh. Okay. It starts off in my hometown. Imagine that. Skip the prologue. Was there a prologue? That was chapter 1. It looks like this just starts with chapter 1. And that's all I got in the sample anyway, so, Alright, well this says chapter 1, so I don't think it's the prologue, so we'll go with that once I get back to the top of it. There we go. Alright, here we go. Hurricane Punch by Tim Dorsey. Tampa. The consistently inventive positions of the hurricane-flung bodies validated the chaos theory, particularly those equations involving trajectory, procrastination, and trailer parks. Certain corpses seemed purposely arranged, the rest very much not. Some appeared to have been scattered by mortar strikes, others peacefully reclined like stuffed pandas on a child's bed. Still others looked like sick practical jokes being played on the recovery crews. The disturbing circumstance of one particular body, the next to be discovered, was no accident. But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back up. Okay, very interesting opening. Gruesome, for sure. I do like me being like, oh, it takes place in my hometown. How exciting. Immediately talking about bodies in the wake of a hurricane. All right. That's fair. That's fair. But no, that's a really interesting opening. So it's hooking you here with gruesome, shocking imagery. And it's dangling this. This is a perfect example of a hook. The hook's purpose is to make the reader ask themselves a question. If they do that, they're more inclined to stay with the story longer because they want that answer. The question that it's making you ask yourself here is, the disturbing circumstance of one particular body, the next to be discovered, was no accident. But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back up. It plants that seed. It's just like that man ready to knock on the door from Cruel Prince, right? It puts that thought in the back of your head and it makes you hold it there as it goes to do something else. But you want that answer, so you're sticking around for that answer, right? I want to know what's happening next. It makes me want to read on. So I want to do at least another paragraph, maybe 2, because it's a short paragraph. June 1st, the opening day of the Atlantic hurricane season, was like any other. Dire predictions in the media and cheerful sales at the home improvement centers. How people ramped up for hurricanes depended on experience. If you'd been through a direct hit, you didn't fool around. Plywood, gas, go. Those with small children were the first to bolt, followed by seasonal residents who had more options. The old-timers went one or two ways. Most had developed keen instincts and knew precisely when to pull the trigger. The crustier stayed put, no matter what, and were interviewed on CNN. Newer residents forgot to charge up cell phones. The wealthy scheduled unscheduled vacations. Families gathered family albums. Insurance executives canceled coverage. Oof, that line hurts. That's really true. Prescriptions and sandbags were filled. Some believed in the power of hoarding canned meat. Others lost faith in electricity and withdrew massive amounts of cash from ATMs. Door-to-door entrepreneurs purchased chainsaws for the brisk post-strike downed tree business. There were tourists who stared bitterly at unused portions of multi-park passes, sailboat owners who spiderwebbed vessels to docks, the motor oil baseball cap people standing in the beds of pickup trucks, making everyone wonder by loading the heaviest, most worthless shit, and college students whose hurricane preparation consisted of not knowing a storm was coming. This is very good. This is very accurate to my experience in Florida, with perhaps a little bit too much concern. I feel like most of the time it's like a, hey, storm, please don't hit us. We've done a little bit of prep, but like just go somewhere else. No, this is fun. Okay, so this has got the very strong opening paragraph where it's hitting you with shocking imagery and then saying, but wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's back it up. And it's like one of those classic, 90s animated movies with the, like, you're probably wondering how I got here, runs it back to earlier in the story. But I like that when it runs it back here, it brings in more of the humor and voice of the story. I feel like this is more of what you can expect to see for the rest of the book. So it's almost a two-part kind of hook there in the opening, and I like that. It's getting your attention right away, and then it's kind of settling in to be like, I know you want the answers, but just settle in for a minute. Enjoy the comedy, enjoy the descriptions. I'm going to take you on a ride. I like it. I think I'm interested in what's the back cover blurb for this? That lovable, under-medicated dispenser of truth, justice, and trivia is back with a vengeance, just as his cherished home state is about to take a beating from a conga line of hurricanes bearing down on the peninsula. Wow, that's a really good line. I like that. But as Serge, or Sergey, I'm not sure, and his burnout buddy Coleman go storm chasing, bodies begin turning up at a disturbing rate, even by Florida standards. It looks like a serial killer is on the loose. Another serial killer, which highly offends Serge's moral sensibilities. And he vows he'll stop at nothing to unmask his thrill-killing rival and make all things right. Though Coleman's triathlete approach to the sport of polyabuse binging threatens to derail the mission more completely than the entire combined Sunshine State police community would ever hope to. This is a great description. I love it. Color me interested. I might have to give that one another look. Thank you for recommending that one, Rafi. That was fun. All right, y'all. I'm glad to see you add some of these books to the list, to your to be read pile. That's a product of this stream, and also, yeah, my TBR gets way too loaded up by these streams. I have too many books to read as it stands, but look, when you see a good book, you gotta remember to read it. All right, let's do Dementia by Tara Hansen next. Let's give this one a try. Another one I'm not aware of. I think you guys have given me, outside of like school books, there hasn't been a lot of books I've been aware of today, so thank you. It's Hansen with an O. Here we go. All right, here's our cover. That's a rank-looking chair, man. I imagine that's the point, right? Unsettle you a little bit with the cover. Ricky Doodog Grimes, you said, do you have tips for writing? I have ideas and stuff, but don't really know what to do with them. Yeah, for sure, Ricky. Anytime. So I have formats for my streams, but anytime I'm live, please hit me with your questions about writing, publishing, books, all that fun stuff. I'm always happy to talk about it. So my main tip, if you're trying to get into writing, is just focus entirely on what you think would be the most fun story to enjoy, purely for your own tastes. Like, if you got a lot of ideas, take the one that you think is just the coolest and the most fun, and go with that, and just start writing it. I think the step one is not to worry about conventions, genre, storytelling, any of that stuff. Step one is just to have fun writing. You're just kind of exploring it for yourself, seeing if you enjoy it. So give it a start there, and we'll move from that. But that's step one. Just enjoy yourself. You always have to be, as the author, you have to be the first person to enjoy your story. So make sure you have fun with it. Daraga 96, are you able to buy listening versions of these? Yeah, most of these, I imagine most of these are also in audiobook. It'll tell you over here on the right side if it's available as an audiobook. But most of these have been pretty mainstream books, so they'll be available. Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate y'all. And glad you're enjoying enough to follow. Ellis Island, that chair was there for the First World War. Dino, what's going on, my guy? Good to see you. Jake Hartman on the video app, you said it's better to have too much to read than nothing at all. Preach. Absolutely. All right, let's do Chapter 1 of Dementia by Tara Hansen. Chapter 1, Things That Settle. Interesting. Mornin's too quiet now. Ain't nobody to jaw with since Ruby passed on. Just me, sitting here with myself like I'm waiting on something to stir, knowing full well nothing ever does anymore. This old house don't look like much these days. Just another sagging thing on a street full of 'em. White paint's peeled clean off in places, like dead skin flakin'. Black shutters gone all ghost gray from that Georgia sun beating 'em down summer after summer. Place seen better days, I reckon. So have I. Been losing track of things lately. Little things. Stuff Ruby would have caught before it ever got past her. She had an eye for this place. Sure did. Always cleaning, fussing over some corner or shelf. Even when it looked like she weren't doing a thing, she was. Now, come morning, when that sun cuts through the windows just right, I can see the dust floating in the air, like it can't decide where to land. I reckon I could dust. Probably ought to, but that was always her thing. Reckon I need to change the air filters. Don't see much sense in starting now. These days it's been hard to find motivation to do much of anything. Gus was stretched out on the porch swing, gray fur drinking in the first light of morning. I reached over, scratched behind his ears, listening to that old swing creak like it had something to say. He was Ruby's stray. After she passed, I figured, hell, weren't no harm in keeping him around. Each morning I step out to fetch the mail, and them kids across the street are out there, waving bright-eyed, happy, like they ain't never heard the world can hurt you. I raise my hand, slow-like, never quite sure what to do with it. Every day they wave. Every day I wave back. Lately I can't keep myself from wondering if I ever stopped, would they notice? All right. Interesting opening. I am a bit of a sucker for books that bring you into an accent or a voice for the main character. They can be jarring at first, but once you settle into the flow of it, it can be nice. As long as it's not overdone, right? Like, as long as it's not, someone from Ohio trying to write a Scottish accent or something and, like, dropping letters everywhere and changing the spelling of things. Don't go overboard with it, but this is not overboard. I think this is done well. As to hooks, we're just jumping right into the story. Even the opening line with "Mornin's too quiet now," that's encouraging you to ask a question. That's encouraging you to say, why? What's changed? It's a classic hook right there. Then it transitions right into, I'm assuming, the main character's voice, and kind of leads you along with thoughts about how things are versus how they were. I believe this is a horror book, so the vibe kind of makes sense to me. I think the thing that stood out to me most in this opening is it was very casual, felt like I was having a conversation with this main character. I'm assuming main character, and I like that. I think that's a fun way to make the transition into a book a lot easier for the reader. So I'm a fan. There was a couple lines that stood out too. I want to highlight them. Where was it? White paint's peeled clean off in places, like dead skin flaking. Ugh. Gross, but good. There was another one. There we go. Now come morning, when that sun cuts through the windows just right, I can see dust floating in the air, like it can't decide where to land. That's another good one. That's a very real detail. I dig it. Tara, thank you for recommending. I enjoyed it. Very interesting. I missed a lot in chat. Mantham M on the video app, the Red app. Hello, my friend. Good to see you over there. Ricky Doodah Grimes, you said, any tips on world building? I've also always wanted to make a world with stories. With world building, I think there's different ways to approach it. You can approach it from the angle of I'm building a world for fun and out of interest, or I'm building it for the story. I'm more on the I build worlds for stories perspective, so story comes first and the world is built around it. But if you want a world build just for fun, there's nothing wrong with that either. Tips for doing that? What I would do, I like to take walks in my world, as I call it. I will pick an area of the world that I find interesting, and I'll just spend 5 to 10 minutes writing an absolute nothing scene, no point to it, just imagining myself or a character walking through an area of the world and just describing the sights, sounds, feelings, temperature, light, etc., of what it's like there. and that helps me visualize parts of the world, details I wouldn't otherwise think of. Ashley, you wanted to put in Firefly Wishes by Ashley Templin. Like I said, guys, the list is a bit long today, so I don't think we're going to get to them all. But if I don't get to yours today, please come back next stream, next Wednesday, next time we do this format, and recommend or mention the book and that we didn't get to it, and I will put it right to the top of the list for the next stream. Kendra, you said if nothing else, that sounds like an interesting exercise or super fun exercise. It is. It really is. I have a lot of little snippets of just scenes and thoughts from worlds that I've created. It's really fun. It's really peaceful in a way. Dino, you're looking for audiobooks for my stuff outside of Wrigley. They should all be on Amazon or Audible. If you pull up, say Servant of Rage, click into here, and then audiobooks right there. So it's right there. It should be the same for all of them. It should be on Audible too. Let me know if you can find them. Noah, you asked, do I have real life versions of my books? I do. And paperback, I think, is what you're asking. Here's most of my books. They're all available on Amazon and Audible. You can order them from barnesandnoble.com, etc., etc. It's all linked in bio. Feel free to take a look if you want. I am a full-time author, so that's how I support myself. So if any of those look interesting to you, please give them a look. I would appreciate it. Jasmine Seawright, good to see you. Welcome back. It's been a little while. How you been? I hope you're doing good. Kat Peterson, that's so kind. Thank you. You said you're listening to Wriggly Little Hands with your kids, and they love it. Thank you. That's so kind of you. I'll pull up the cover real quick. Y'all, if you're looking for a fun comedy adventure featuring a family of goblins on a quest to retrieve the Dark Lord's doomsday weapon and help him defeat the forces of good, may I recommend Wriggly Little Hands. It's very silly, very Terry Pratchett-esque, if I may be so bold. If you give it a look, I hope you enjoy it. Kendra, thank you for being here. You said you're new and you haven't been on the Clock app in a while. You're really happy to have found the stream. Well, thank you. I'm happy you found it too. Please hang out. Glad to have you here. If you don't know, on Mondays the stream looks more like this. And it's just a pure AMA. Basically, any questions y'all have, ask me and I'll answer them. Which, by the way, those rules kind of apply anytime I'm streaming. You can ask me questions at any point in time. On Wednesdays, we do the opening lines format, where we're doing what we do today. I read the opening lines of books that y'all recommend, and we break them down from an author's perspective. And then on Friday, the best day of the week, we do Fantasy Map Friday, where I make fantasy maps for my books live on stream. It's really fun. I love that one. So definitely come back on Friday. That's my most popular stream every week. I'd love to do it every day, but we gotta keep a little variety in here, you know. And all those start at 7 a.m. Central Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Jasmine, I'm really sorry to hear that. That's rough, man. I'm very sorry to hear that. I hope things improve. I know that you are grinding away at it. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help. You said Horse is your daughter's favorite character, Kat? I love it. Thank you. Horse has been a fan favorite in that book. I'm glad folks love Horse so much. Nix, welcome in. Good to see you. Blood Dana, you said you love a wander through the world scene. You'll do that a lot when you're trying to figure out a world. Yeah, it's great, right? It's just nice. Your Cat's Cute asked, a great name, do you ever get brain fatigue when you're writing books? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And if I have to push for a deadline, it can be really bad. It's a very special kind of tired when you overwork your brain too much. Like, I recently, don't ever do this, y'all. I recently wanted to see how many words I could actually write over a 2-week period if I really pushed. And I got 96,000 words in 11 days. Yay! Sounds so impressive. It was hell. I took like 2 weeks to recover after that. It was brutal. Not a good way to write. Not enjoyable. AR Oliveri, you said, who's your favorite audiobook narrator? I do use I do use a bunch of different narrators in my books. Just depends on if a publisher picks it up. Like, Servant of Rage got bought by Podium Publishing, so they had a narrator in mind they wanted to work with. The Far Wild was actually commissioned by Audible Originals, so they came to me with several narrators, and we kind of picked out a few. Wriggly Little Hands, we worked with Sound Booth Theater on that one, which love those guys. They're great. And they brought in... just Dory Sachs was the main narrator for that. That was who I expected to work with, but they got so excited about the book that they brought in like a whole cast of folks. Let's see if I can get... Do I have the audiobook cover still downloaded? Yes. All right, so let's see. This should do it. If I now pull this image up, we'll lose the infinity look. Can y'all see that okay? Yeah. All right, so if I do that... Here, let me move it like this so I can actually interact with it. There we go. If you look at the narrator list on this book, they're right here. There's like, what, 7? 8. Primarily, Dory Sachs does the main narration. She does the prose and the main character. And then everybody else does side characters, which I thought was really interesting, but it makes for a crazy audio experience. So that was super cool. So yes, I do have a lot of different narrators I work with, but I mean, I'm so honored to work with all of them. They're great folks, true artists. I don't know how they do it, man. They do really good stuff. All right, so let's get to another book. We've been blabbing for a minute here. Let's see what else we got. Although I have lost my TikTok chat window. Where did that go? Yo, I broke everything. I can't see my chat anymore. Where did it go? That's nuts. That's never happened before. Is it... Yeah, no, it's like it's closed. All right, give me a second to pull it back up so I can see what folks are saying. I literally don't know where it's gone, y'all. All right, hold 1 second. I'm going to try something. I did not bring it back. Well, it's going to be hard to take your recommendations if I can't see chat. Theoretically, I could pull it up on my phone, I suppose. There we go. Okay, I managed to make it work. Nope, that's not going to do it. Darn. Thought I had a clever idea. I did not. Audio mixer? Y'all, where is it? I'm in TikTok Studio, which is a little bit different than the typical way to do it. But I don't see my chat anywhere. Let's do this. Bear with me. I apologize. I know there's a way to bring it back. I'm sure someone in chat is telling me how to do it, and I just can't read it. No, that's not going to do it. Okay, well, y'all, I apologize. I can't see chat, but we're going to carry on with the show anyway. I got a nice long list of books here. So, I'm just going to keep going, hey? We're just going to rock on. Oh, hold on. I got it back. Oh, no, that's YouTube chat. I'm not supposed to say that name. That's the video app chat. Anyway, let's grab another book here. We have Firefly Wishes by Ashley Templin. Let's give that one a look. I love seeing what I'm thinking are cypress trees in the art there. Yeah, it looks like cypress trees. As a Florida swamp dweller, I'm a huge fan of swamps and bayous, cypress trees, cypress knees, wetlands, wonderful environments. All right, let's give this a read. I always start with the first prose that I see in the book. So if the prologue is where the author chose to start the story, then that's what we read. Prologue. What a beautiful thing it is to be able to stand tall and say, I fell apart, and I survived. The sounds of slamming doors, frustrated shouts echoing through the hallway, and the occasional drunken stumble to the bedroom were a familiar soundtrack to my life. I'd grown accustomed to the sounds of impending doom. I never imagined I'd live to see 30. It always seemed like just an illusion. Year after year, the same hollow promise repeated itself. Just one more year. A mantra that numbed the ache of unending struggle. It became a relentless internal battle, first for a month, then a week, a day, an hour, and finally just another minute. Each increment a struggle against the urge to give up. The inevitability of death felt like a familiar weight, a constant companion. With fervent hope, I pleaded to any higher power that might hear my prayers to grant me refuge. See, when each day brings unbearable suffering and agony, death doesn't seem so bad. It seems almost peaceful. Oof! Boy, heavy books today, y'all. Alright, so a heavy start in this opening. Does not sound like a great home life. I'm expecting like almost like horror or like a darker emotional story just from that opening. But let's talk about what's going on in the opening lines. I'm assuming this is the main character, giving a recounting of the normal sounds of their home life, which don't sound particularly happy. So you're kind of getting to know the main character, I guess, with the beginning. Hook-wise, I think the hook that stood out to me most was the character thinking that I never imagined I'd live to see 30. That does make me wonder why. It comes a little bit later in the opening paragraph, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I kind of want to know why. And I'm assuming it's related to all these descriptions we're getting in here. And if we read a bit more, we might get an answer on that. But that's the purpose of hooks, isn't it? It makes you ask a question. It makes you want the answer. It makes you want to read more in order to find out. So there we go. Opening of Firefly Wishes by Ashley Templin. Y'all, I'm going to rapid fire a few more here. Just I apologize. I can't see TikTok chat anymore. And I don't know how to get that back. I've never had this issue before. Normally there's just a button you click and it pops up. I'll give it one more look here. Nothing. I don't see any way to get it back. Oh well. Don't know how I got rid of it. We'll bring it back for the next stream. Let's rapid fire a few more books from the list. We had On a Pale Horse by Piers Anthony that was recommended. So let's do that one next. Like I said, we're going to rapid fire a few because I want to be able to get through... we've done half the list actually, so this will put us into the 67% of the list territory. 60-70%, so that'd be pretty good. It is weird not being able to see y'all's chat. Hopefully everybody's behaving over there, because I got nothing here. I feel like I'm just talking to myself. I can see YT chat. Thank you, Jack Ann, for popping over there, as well as It's So AK Development. I keep saying YT. I need to be. It's the red app, the video app. Anyway, by Piers Anthony, we have On a Pale Horse, with an interesting like retrofuturism cover. It feels very like a 1950s idea of the future, with a Grim Reaper driving presumably a flying car. I guess it could be on streets. For some reason I have the image that is flying in my head. Alright, let's get to the opening. Chapter 1, To Buy a Stone. Death, the proprietor said clearly, showing the stone. It was a bright red ruby, multifaceted, set in a plain gold ring. It was a full carat, large for this quality. Zane shook his head, experiencing a chill. I don't want that one. The man smiled, an obviously perfunctory and practiced expression reserved for wavering marks. He was well dressed, but somewhat sallow, in the manner of those who remained in the shade too long. You misunderstand, sir. This fine gem does not bring you death. It does the opposite. Zane was hardly reassured. Then why call it the Death Stone? Again, that annoyingly patronizing shape of the face, as the proprietor eased the ignorant concern of the bulky customer. It merely advises the wearer of the proximity of termination, by darkening. The speed and intensity of the change notifies you of the potential circumstance of your demise, in plenty of time for you to avoid it. But isn't that paradox? Zane had seen such stones advertised, usually at prohibitive prices, but discounted the claims as marketing hyperbole. A prophecy isn't valid if, no paradox, the proprietor said, with professional certainty, merely adequate warning. You could hardly obtain a better service, sir. After all, what is more precious than life? Okay, interesting opening. I really don't know what to make of that, y'all. That's a cool one. Drops you right into a scene. And basically, the main character here, I'm assuming main character, is asking questions that I think the readers would be asking. It's pretty cool. It's a clever way to answer the questions that we as readers, the author would expect us to have. And it's an intriguing premise. I don't really know what's going on in this scene, but I'm certainly intrigued to read more. Is this book sci-fi? Like, I'm not sure what this is. What's the back cover say? In the first novel of the Incarnations of Immortality, Piers Anthony combines a gripping story of romance and conflicting loyalties with a deeply moving examination of the meaning of life and death. This is a novel that will long linger in the reader's mind. The first line of the blurb is great. Shooting death was a mistake, as Zane soon discovered. Interesting. For the man who killed the incarnation of death was immediately forced to assume the vacant position. Okay. Interesting. Jay Cartman, you said, "Don't worry, Alex. I'll pretend to be TikTok chat for you." Thank you. Jackie Ann, you felt a little lost because it didn't ground us in the opening. I can agree with that, but I think making the reader feel a little lost sometimes can be a hook in and of itself, because if you're lost, you still do want answers, right? So that's not a bad thing. All right, we're rapid firing. So there is On a Pale Horse by Piers Anthony. Thank you for recommending that, whoever did. It was a while ago. I don't remember your name. And I can't see TikTok chat to remember. So, yay. All right, let's grab one more here. Y'all, like I said, if I don't get to yours today on stream, remind me on next Wednesday, and I will put it right to the top of the list, and we'll get it then. I'm going to do Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. There's so many on here I want to get to, though. I don't have time, but there's some really good ones. Guys, please, Sung Moon, thank you for popping over to the video app. I apologize I can't see my TikTok chat. Y'all, if I don't get to your book today, please do mention it next Wednesday, because there's some ones on this list I really want to do. Black Tongue Thief, Depths of Vanolf, Night Arcanist. In fact, I'm gonna do Night Arcanist too right after this. We're gonna squeeze one more in there. I'll make up the work time later. Let's knock out Paladin's Grace, and then I really want to do Night Arcanist because Shammy Stovall is a good person. Ooh, I love this cover already. Very interesting. Love those colors. Very, very intriguing colors. I feel like I don't see this color combo a lot, especially in fantasy books. When a god dies, who gets left behind? Interesting tagline there. All right, let's check out Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. Chapter 1. Stephen's god died a little after noon on the longest day of the year. The Saint of Steel had not been a major deity, but neither had he been entirely obscure. He had 4 temples, staffed with priests and paladins, and the bishop of his church sat on the council in Archon's glory beside the elders of the other local churches. The Forge God, and the Four-Faced God, and the Temple of the White Rat. His paladins, Stephen among them, rode out when the saint's duty demanded swords and men to wield them, and rode back to the temple nursing their wounds, only to ride out again when they had healed. It had never occurred to Stephen, or any of the others, that a god could die. Such things happened in mythology, not in real life. He had just come back from a long, grim journey, hunting demons. It was not the Saint of Steel's primary function, but the dreaming god's paladins had asked for assistance, so Stephen and 3 of his brothers had gone out with them. Demon hunting was ugly work, mostly involving possessed livestock, and while the dreaming god's chosen were skilled at exorcism... Interesting. Okay, so it cuts off there in the snippet. So I guess that's where we stop reading. Interesting opening, though. I quite enjoyed this. That was fun. I really like where this is going. It's just an interesting premise. And yeah, you're right, Jackie. Heavy world building for sure. But in an interesting way. I could see how you could write this in the moment with like the main character realizing their god has died, which is also an interesting concept. But I kind of like this overview of it. It's a little telly, not showing, but I don't mind it. I think it's good. I'm also partial to settings and world building as hooks, so that always works on me. It doesn't work on most people. I think it's agreed in the publishing world that's not the strongest way to open a book. Personally, I enjoy it. But no, this is an interesting premise. I would certainly want to read more. I would say flag this book as having caught my attention. I'm going to leave it up here because I want to look at it again after stream. All right, so let's get one more for the day. I said I wanted to do Shammy Stovall's book. I really hope that's how you say your name. I've never actually said it aloud. Could be Shami. I've just always read it as Shammy, so it's just like one of those words that you read in a book but you never pronounce it. So apologies if I'm saying it incorrectly. But let's grab Knight Arcanist. That's a new one that we haven't been recommended. We haven't had a Stovall book at all. So let's do it. Didn't come up on the search. Did I type the name, the title in wrong? Nightmare Arcanist. In the back of my head, I was thinking I had it wrong. Let me update my list here. Nightmare Arcanist. That rolls off the tongue a little bit better. Alright, there's our cover. Pretty sick cover. I like that. Really cool looking art. The combination of the blue on the sword with the orange of like the phoenix, I'm thinking. Very nice. With the backdrop of like a galaxy. Stars, I think. I dig it. I quite dig it. Very cool. Very cool colors. Very cool art. Oh, look at this. The preview just drops you right into Chapter 1. Thank you for that. That's awesome. So, Chapter 1. The Day of Phoenixes. I outlined a fresh grave for the cemetery as bells rang from the Isle's tower, signifying the start of the celebrations. The soil reeked of ammonia and rot, but the crisp morning breeze washed the scent away, dispersing it over the ocean. I removed my shirt, allowing the wind to cool me while I worked. Every 10 years, the people on the Isle of Ruma gathered to watch the fledgling phoenixes bond with a chosen few mortals. Lamplighters did their duty despite the glorious sunshine, and each lamp's fire representing the flames of the phoenix. Sorry, let me read that again. Lamplighters did their duty despite the glorious sunshine, each lamp's fire representing the flames of phoenixes. Merchants cleared their horses and carts from the main road in anticipation of the crowds. This was my second day of Phoenixes. A decade ago, on my 5th birthday, I had witnessed the bonding ceremony to attend my father's trial. He was convicted of murder, but because he hadn't been born on the island, he was taken to the mainland for final judgment. That was the last time I had seen him. Oof. Although the last day of Phoenixes had been inauspicious, this year would be different. Once I finished digging a shallow grave, I would make my way into town. Yo, I want to know what this grave's about. What's going on here? I want to read a bit more, but I need to pause to talk about the hooks for a moment. I outlined a fresh grave for the cemetery as bells rang from the Isle's tower, signifying the start of the celebrations. When I read that initially, what I'm thinking is, my first thought was, oh, this grave is for a funeral that's happening, and the bell on the tower is ringing in honor of that. But no, it's for celebrations, which makes you, there's a dissonance there. It makes you go, wait, what's the grave for, though? And you want to read more to find out, right? And I still do, after reading this far in. I still want to read more to know what that's about. That's a very effective hook. I'm assuming, yeah, Jack Ann, I'm assuming they're a groundskeeper or something to that effect. I'm not entirely sure. I do love particularly the description. The soil reeked of ammonia and rot, but the crisp morning breeze washed the scent away, dispersing it over the ocean. That's too real a detail. Not the ammonia and rot. I'm not going to say I'm familiar with those smells, but the idea of a bad smell and then the wind blowing in to carry it away. Maybe it's because I live in Houston and closer than I probably should to the oil and energy capital of the U.S., so we're very familiar with having bad smells and chemicals in the air around here. I know it's great for my long-term health. Perhaps it's because of that, but I am familiar with this sensation, so I can sympathize a lot with the main character on that one. So yeah, anyway, I wanted to keep reading a little bit more, so let me get a drink and we'll keep going for just a couple more paragraphs in this bad boy. Alright. Although the last day of Phoenixes had been inauspicious, this year would be different. Once I finished digging a shallow grave, I would make my way into town. The description shallow grave there is intriguing again. Just adding to the hooks that are sitting in your head, right? I slammed the shovel's head into the dirt and scooped deep. The cemetery sat near the edge of the island, far from those gathering to observe the hopeful students trying to win the favor of the Phoenixes. Tradition stated that anyone who handled sewage, waste, and dead bodies wasn't allowed to attend the bonding ceremony, which was just my luck. Note that part. After my father was sent away, I could have been given to any profession for apprenticeship. I could have gone to the carpenter and learned the craft of woodworking, or I could have gone to the silversmith and learned the art of fine metalwork, but misfortune hounded me like a shadow. I had been given to the gravekeeper, slated to dig corpse holes until the end of time, forever exiled from the festivities. I still intended to go, even if it meant ignoring the traditions of the Isle, something unheard of on our tiny spit of land. No one could stop me from proving myself to a phoenix. No one. Okay, there we go. I felt like something like that was coming. Y'all, wonderful opening. Really masterfully done. Sometimes you can just tell when an opening is well put together, beyond just like enjoying it. And this is definitely one of those. Big props on this one. It was just the right elements. There's enough hooks to keep you reading, but also, it's almost kind of like it's like a light version of foreshadowing that like you kind of are expecting what's coming, but it's not entirely giving the game away. I liked it a lot. Jack Ann, you said I love how they're working the world building into a bitter stance from this character. I agree. I also like how the world building is eased into the character's backstory. It's very natural. It's very easy reading. Shout out, Nightmare Arcanist. I've heard very good things about it, and it lives up to things I've heard right off the bat. So, rock on. I'm glad we snuck that one in right at the end there. That was a nice one to get in there. Thank you for recommending it. Who recommended it? Do we remember? I'm sorry, I can't see TikTok chat because it disappeared on me today. But whoever recommended it, thank you. That was a good one. All right, y'all. Like I always say, if I didn't get to your book today, I apologize. Please come back next Wednesday and mention it to me, and I will put it right to the top of the list. We'll make sure we get to it. But we did pretty good today. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books done today. Rock on. That's not bad for an hour and 20 minutes. So yeah, guys, if you've joined me today, thank you for being here. I appreciate having you. I appreciate you hanging out with me. It's been a fun stream. Great books read. Great opening lines analyzed. And hey, y'all know the deal. We are coming back on Friday for Fantasy Map Friday. It's the best stream of the week. I have the most fun with it. This one's always good too. Look, I love all my streams, but Fantasy Map Friday is just so much fun. 7 a.m. Central Time Friday. We're going to be working on fantasy maps. Come join us. Hang out with me. It's going to be fun. So, folks, as we wrap it up, I apologize again that I can't see TikTok chat. We've had a week of tech issues so far. Hopefully we'll have it all fleshed out on Friday. Have a nice, smooth stream. But, as always, a special thanks to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for the use of his songs Farm, Manor, Cottages, and Northern Glade, which have provided our background music today. As well, an extra special thank you to community member Raffi the Engineer, who has made a fifth song for stream, Midnight at the Roundtable. Raffi produced that himself, gave it to us as a gift so we could enjoy it here on stream. Thank you, Raffi. You rock, man. Of course, a shout out to my excellent mods, who I assume have been even more useful than they already are, due to the fact that I can't see TikTok chat today and thus can't monitor it. Thank you, Melissa Lee 28, Raffi the Engineer, One Happy Harpy, Simp 1X, other name wasn't available, aka Slindy, Leisha T, and Aaron Winnick. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. Lastly, folks, if you've enjoyed today's stream, please do give me a follow so I can catch you on the next one. Like I said, that's going to be Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. I'm excited to see y'all then. Until then, thank you very much for being here. Let's give a quick shout out to Melissa Lee, Raffi the Engineer, and Jack Ann Marie, all watching on TikTok, as well as Leisha T and Get Off My Lawn Guy. Other name wasn't available. And Ronnie, good to see you, Ronnie. I don't know if you slipped in when I didn't notice or just after chat disappeared on me, but good to see you. Lily in the Loop, thank you for being here. User 1480418667458. Thank you as well for being here. As well as Tim and Rion Fish. And over on YouTube, we have It's So AK Development, Jack Ann again, and Jake Hartman, of course, and Mantham M, and several other viewers who are there today. Thank you very much, folks. I appreciate you being here. Hope you've had fun. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. We will be back Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time. Until then, have a good Wednesday, have a great Thursday, and we'll be back for a great Friday. Thank you for tuning in today, folks. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.